Hey, good morning, and guys. Today, I start the chapter number 5 of part 3 of how to win friends and influence people. And last class बोल रहा हूँ. Last video में we talk about the chapter number 4 where we know कि भाई fast travel the past principle 4 says begin in a friendly way. आपको फ्रेंडली वे में पास स्टार्ट करना है आगे आपकी बात को, उसके बाद ही आपको आपकी जो प्रॉब्लम्स है कि आप जो कहना चाहते हैं वो से आप कह सकते हैं। सो 90% चांसेस है कि भाई वो मान सकता है। एंड प्रिंसिपल 3 हम उससे पहले पढ़ चुके हैं कि आप यदि आप रॉन्ग हो भाई तो पहले से एक्सेप्ट कर देना कि आप ही रॉन्ग हो एम्पैथिकली एंड क्विकली। एंड उससे पहले हम चैप्टर नंबर 2 प्रिंसिपल 2 भी बोल सकते हैं। So respect for others person's opinions never so you are wrong. Okay, उनकी जो रेस्पेक्ट जो उनकी जो ओपिनियंस है ना उनको रेस्पेक्ट देना एंड कभी मत कहना कि भाई वो गलत है डायरेक्टली, क्योंकि भाई उनकी अच्छा हार्ट को डायरेक्टली वो हर्ट करता है। तो उस वो एंग्री हो जाते हैं और आपको जो बात आप बोलना चाहते हैं वो सुनेंगे नहीं। और पहली पार्ट 1 चैप्टर 1 की बात करें तो भाई उसमें प्रिंसिपल 1 बोल रहा है कि भाई द ओनली वे टू गेट द बेस्ट एन आर्ग्यूमेंट इज अवॉइड। आप बेस्ट आर्ग्यूमेंट कर कब करोगे? जब आप उसे अवॉइड करोगे। ओके, तो आज पढ़ेंगे भाई 5 द सीक्रेट ऑफ सॉक्रेट्स। एंड इन टॉकिंग विथ पीपल don't begin by discussing the things on which you differ. Begin by emphasizing and keep on emphasizing the things on which you agree. Keep emphasizing if possible that you are both striving for the same end and that your only difference is one of the method and not of the purpose. Get the other person saying yes, yes at the outset. Keep your opponent, if possible, from saying no. A no response, according to a professor of Wall Street, is a almost difficult handicap to overcome. When you have said no, all your pride of personality demands that you remain consistent with yourself. You may later feel that the no was ill advised. Nevertheless, there is your precious pride to consider. Once having said a thing, you feel you must stick to it. Hence, it is of the very greatest importance that a person be started in the affirmative direction. The skillful speaker gets at the outset a number of yes responses. This sets the psychological process of the listeners moving in the affirmative direction. It is like the movement of the billiard ball propelled in one direction, and it takes some force to deflect it, far more force to send it back in the opposite direction. The psychological patterns here are quite clear. When a person says no and really means it, he or she is doing far more than saying a word of two letters. The entire organism, glandular, nervous, muscular, gathers itself together into a condition of rejection. There is usually in minute but sometimes in observable degree a physical withdrawal or readiness for withdrawal. The whole neuromuscular system in short sets itself on guard against acceptance. When to the contrary, a person says yes, none of the withdrawal activities take place. The organism is in a forward moving, accepting, open attitude. Hence, the more yeses we can at the very outset induce, the more likely we are to succeed in capturing the attention for our ultimate proposal. It is a very simple technique, this yes response, and yet how much it is neglected. It often seems as if people get a sense of their own importance by antagonizing others at the outset. Get a student to say no at the beginning, or a customer child, husband, or wife, and it takes the wisdom and the patience of angels to transform that bristling negative into a affirmative. The use of this yes, yes technique enables James Everson, who was a teller in the Greenwich Savings Bank in Newark City, to secure a prospective customer who might otherwise have been lost. This man came in to open an account, said Mr. Everson, and I gave him our usual form to fill out. Some of the questions he answered willingly, but there were others he flatly refused to answer. Before I began the study of human relations, I would have told this prospective depositor that if he refused to give the bank this information, we should have to refuse to accept this account. I am ashamed that I have been guilty of doing that very thing in the past. Naturally, an ultimatum like that made me feel good. I had shown who was boss, that he bank's rules and regulations could not be flouted. But that sort of attitude certainly did not give a feeling of welcome and importance to the men who had worked in a give us his patrons. I resolved this morning to use a little horse sense. I resolved not to work about what the bank wanted, but about what the customer wanted. And above all else, I was determined to get him saying yes, yes from the very start. So I agreed with him. I told him the information he refused to give was not absolutely necessary. However, I said, suppose you have money in this bank at your death. Wouldn't you like to have the bank transfer into your next of kin, who is entitled to it according to law? Yes, of course, he replied. Don't you think, I continued, that it would be a good idea to give us the name of your next of kin, so that in the event of your death you could carry out your wishes without error or delay. Again he said yes. The young man's attitude softened and changed when he realized that we weren't asking for this information for our sake but for his sake. Before leaving the bank, this young man not only gave me complete information about himself, but he opened, at my suggestion, a trust account, naming his mother as the beneficiary for his account, and he had gladly answered all the questions concerning his mother also. I found that by getting him to say yes from the outset, he forgot the issue at stake and was happy to do all the things I suggested. Joseph Allison, a sales representative for Westinghouse Electric Company, had this story to tell. There was a man in my territory that our company was most eager to sell to. My predecessor had called on him for 10 years without selling anything. When I took over the territory, I called steadily for 3 years without getting an order. Finally, after 13 years of calls and selling sales stock, we sold him a few motors. If this proved to be all right, an order for several hundred more would follow. Such was my expectation. Right, I knew they would be all right. So when I called 3 weeks later, I was in high spirit. The chief engineer greeted me with this shocking announcement. Alison, I can't buy the remainder of the motors from you. Why? I asked in amazement. Why? Because your motors are too hot. I can't put my hand on them. I knew it wouldn't do any good to argue. I had tried that sort of thing too long. So I thought of getting the yes response. Well, now look, Mr. Smith, I said, I agree with you 100%. If those motors are running too hot, you ought not to buy any more of them. You must have motors that won't run any hotter than standards set by the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. Isn't that so? He agreed it was. I had gotten my first yes. The Electrical Manufacturers Association regulations say that a properly designed motor may have a temperature of 72 degrees Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit about above room temperature. Is that correct? Yes, he agreed. That's quite correct. But your motors are much hotter. I did not argue with him. I merely asked how hot is the meal room. Oh, he said about 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, I replied, if the meal room is 75 degree and you are 72, that that makes a total 147 degrees Fahrenheit. Wouldn't you scald your hand if you held it under a spigot of hot water at a temperature of 147 degree Fahrenheit? Again, he had to say yes. Well, I suggested, wouldn't it be a good idea to keep your hands off those motors? Well, I guess you're right, he admitted. We continued to chat for a while. Then he called his secretary and lined up approximately 55, $35,000 worth of business for ensuing month. It took me years and cost me countless thousands of dollars in lost business before I finally learned that it does not pay to argue. It is much more profitable and much more interesting to look at things from the other person's viewpoint and try to get that person's saying yes, yes. It is know who sponsors our courses in Oakland, California, tells how he become a good customer of a shop because the proprietor got him to say yes, yes. Idil had become interested in bow hunting and had spent considerable money in purchasing equipment and supplies from a local bow store. When his brother was visiting him, he wanted to rent a bow for him. From this store, the sales clerk told him they did not rent bows. So Idil phoned another bow store. Idil described what happened. A very pleasant gentleman answered the phone. His response to my question for a rental was completely different from the other place. He said he was sorry, but they no longer rented before. I replied yes. Several years ago, he reminded me that I probably paid $25 to $30 for the rental. I said yes again. He then asked if I was the kind of person who liked to save money. Naturally, I answered yes. He went on to explain that they had bow sets with all the necessary equipment on sale for $35.95. I could buy a complete set for only $4.95, more than I could rent one. He explained that he is why they had discontinued renting them. Did I think that was reasonable? My yes response led to a purchase of the set, and when I picked off, I purchased several more items at this shop and have since become a regular customer. Socrates, the godfly of Athens, was one of the greatest philosophers the world has ever known. He did something that only a handful of men in all history have been able to do. He sharply changed the whole course of human thought. And now, 24 centuries after his death, his death, he is honored as one of the wisest pursuer who ever influenced this wrongling world. His method, did he tell people they were wrong? Oh no, not Socrates. He was far too adroit. for that. His whole technique, now called the Socrates method, was based upon getting a yes response. He asked questions with which his opponent would have to agree. He kept on winning one admission after another until he had an armful of yeses. He kept on asking questions until finally, almost without realizing it, his opponent found themselves embracing a conclusion they would have bitterly denied a few minutes previously. The next time we are tempted to tell someone he or she is wrong, let's remember all secrets and ask a gentle question, a question that will get the yes response. The Chinese have a proverb pregnant with the age-old wisdom of the Orient. He who tread trees softly goes far. They have spent 5,000 years studying human nature. Those cultures, Chinese, and they have generated a lot of perspicacity. He who treads softly goes far. Okay, this is all about the chapter number 5. The secrets of Socrates. The principal 5 says, get the other person saying yes immediately. Get the other person saying yes. Okay, this is all about the chapter number 5 and see you in next chapter 6, the safety valve in handling complaints. Okay, तब तक bye.